neurotypical versions of relaxation and self-care do not work for us. And why would they? We're not neurotypical. It makes absolutely no sense. For years and years, I would watch these self-care tip videos and relaxation videos and like nighttime routines and self-care routines, and none of it ever worked for me. I sometimes went through small phases, but like nothing ever stuck. And each time they didn't work, I blamed myself, set up for failure, because those tips and tricks just did not work for my neurotype. They do not work for the ADHD neurotype. That's totally okay. So in this video, I'm going to have my own little self-care kind of pamper relaxation night, and throughout it I'm going to share with you all my tips and tricks for ADHD self-care and relaxation. And as I go through it, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 main big tips, and there's also going to be at least 7 other life hacks as a bonus. Bonus hacks. All these tips are ADHD specific, and I have either tried and tested them myself multiple times, or they're grounded in research and I'm starting to try them out myself. I'll of course reference all the scientific literature down below. We're going to talk about the hygiene, bathing, showering, face washing, skincare type of stuff. And we all know that stuff isn't easy for ADHDers, so there's a lot of tips based in here. But in my contact lens and all my makeup's kind of melted off, but I'm about to go in the bath, so there's absolutely no reason to reapply. So let's be honest. A lot of us hate bathing and showering. Or we don't hate it when we're in there, but we hate the thought of going in and also the thought of coming out, and it's a whole thing. I legit never use my shower because it is a sensory nightmare. So I'm more of a bath kind of gal these days. Things that I've been doing recently which have really changed my overall hygiene and bathing, total game changers for me. And the first one is adding stimulation and romanticizing things so I have a reason to be excited. Now those things are kind of connected. Let me show you what I mean. Recently I've been either reading a Kindle, watching YouTube, listening to an audiobook, reading a book, watching an episode of something, whatever. Something I get enjoyment from. I've been adding candles because of the smells. This is just my face washer. I understand when I'm talking about stimulation. It could look a bit suspicious. That's not what that is for, but you know, if you want to do that, then you do you. No judgment here. I've also been using like oils. This is supposed to be a shower oil, but I tend to squirt it in my bath. It makes the whole place smell amazing. I have this thing, which is basically like lights that float in your bath. Unfortunately, there's no batteries in it, but that's another way to add some stimulation. I'm just trying to appeal to all the senses here because we need stimulation. So as you can see, by adding in all this different stimulation and really appealing to all my senses, I'm essentially over-romanticizing the whole bathing experience here, making it feel like an event to look forward to rather than a chore. Don't get me wrong, we don't always all have time for like long luxurious baths, but when you can, go for it. I almost forgot one of the bonus hacks. Hang on. This is a game changer. Actually, we're going for 2 bonus hacks. Okay, so if you're a sensory person and one of the things you absolutely hate about washing your face is, you know, when like the water like dribbles down here and it's absolutely disgusting. Well, if you put scrunchies at the top of your wrist when you're washing your face, it catches the water and it doesn't dribble down. You might not necessarily want to wash your hair because let's face it, it's a whole thing in itself. So sure, you might use a shower cap already, but you know how when you use a shower cap, like even if your hair is fresh, it kind of makes your hair quite sad quite quickly. Like it looks like it's not as fresh and clean and fluffy anymore. I wear a shower cap, but what I do is I spray my scalp with dry shampoo first and I put it on over it. So I don't know if that texture is due to steam or if it's like sweat or what causes it, but like it's a thing. It doesn't completely fix it, but it definitely makes a huge impact. want to add in this little bonus hack. If you're someone who gets super itchy legs or itchy skin at night, which I am, like I'm a really itchy gal, try putting moisturiser on and see if that helps. I used to be someone who would physically claw at my legs every single night until they'd physically bleed. It's really intense, whereas now that I've started like moisturising my legs, it's made such a huge difference. Obviously there might be something different going on with you, so if you do get itchy legs or itchy skin a lot, definitely speak to like some sort of practitioner about it. But this is something that really worked well for me, and it's very common apparently. It's just because your skin gets really dried out and dehydrated, probably to do with the fact that as an ADHDer I forget to drink water. Our skin is our biggest organ and it really needs water and hydration. Goodness, the mystery bruises as an ADHD, it's like, can you see that? Like, I have no idea where that came from. And there's another one here. Skincare routines are my next tip, but if you're not someone who's into skincare, this actually applies to all routines across life. So think of skincare as the example, but if you're someone who's really into skincare, then this kind of doubles as both for you. As ADHDers, we are all or nothing thinkers, right? So we do this thing where we'll hyper focus on our routine and we'll put every single thing in it when we get bored of it or when we realize it's overwhelming. We don't follow it through. But the thing is, to create a consistent routine, not just ADHDers, everyone, the key to actually being able to stick to it is only introducing one little thing at a time. So whatever your routine is, you need to break it down and do one step at a time. And I know that sounds horrendous and I know it's not easy, but actually I've found a way to change my thinking as an ADHDer, to change my perspective and shift it a little bit to make it appealing to my ADHD brain. Bear with me. I honestly can't even tell you how many times over the span of my lifetime I have gone out and bought a multiple step skincare routine with all the best intentions and genuinely believing this time will be different. No. Of course I just end up spending lots of money and the products sit on a shelf gathering dust or in some box or some pile or some bag somewhere. Now that I've taken a different approach to skincare, I am someone who has had a consistent skincare routine for 6 months to a year. I don't know, somewhere in that zone. And that's way longer than any other time I have ever tried to take care of my skin. I don't have anything on at the moment though, I haven't done my skincare routine yet. The difference is I added in one step at a time. And instead of being impatient about this and viewing this as a delayed gratification, I didn't. I make each piece its own little thing. So the first thing I wanted to add in was a moisturiser. Very basic. I researched good moisturisers. Then I got the exciting experience of going into a shop and buying it, talking to the sales assistants, purchasing it, and then I was excited to use it. And just before the novelty would wear off, I would purchase the next thing. I'd start the next step. So then I was looking at a serum, for example. So with the serum, I did the same thing again. And then I had the excitement of putting it into the routine. It's something new, it's something novel. But also knowing that I needed the serum and the moisturiser together. So the moisturiser didn't fall. So then I ended up with moisturiser and serum. Then later on, I started introducing a nighttime routine. I'm now at the stage where I have a 4-step skincare routine for the morning and 3 steps at night, which I implement consistently because I didn't try and throw it all in there at once. And the good thing is there was a financial benefit because each one came out a different paycheck and I didn't spend loads of money at once. Also, life hack to make sure that you don't get bored of anything, whether this is skincare or otherwise, buy travel size or minis, and then by the end of it, if you've kind of got bored of it, you could just try a different one. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some skincare expert who'll say don't change your moisturisers too much or something. I actually don't know much about skincare, but this really works for me. My skin seems fine with it. Obviously your skin might be different. So to conclude my sermon, my lecture, my TED Talk, whatever that was, break things down, break routines down. If you want a lasting routine, break it into little bits, implement a bit at a time, and rather than viewing that as delayed reward or delayed gratification, just make a big deal out of all those little steps and enjoy it. Okay, so the next step is to create a sensory safe environment for yourself, and essentially what that means is making sure everything feels calming for the senses and nothing feels overwhelming in terms of each sense. In other words, we're creating calm vibes. Chill, secure, safe, ambience. For me, this includes removing clutter. There's not too much clutter, but there is a little bit. Now, I hate tidying, so I guess hack within this tip is use functional storage, so storage boxes, because as an ADHDer, it just means we can put stuff away and the place doesn't feel cluttered. We can just throw things in a box or throw things in a basket, and the outside feels safe for us from a sensory perspective. This literally changed my life in terms of clothes. I had piles of clothes everywhere and I had different piles for different things, and now I have different little baskets for different things which would have been piles. Functional for me personally, and from what I've heard from other ADHDers, it works really well for them too. I'm just going to quickly zoom around the room and put things away. I'm also going to make sure the lighting isn't offensive in any way and is quite dull, so I'm not going to have bright overhead lights. I'm going to create a vibe essentially with nice twinkly fairy lights and nice soft lighting. As you may or may not be able to see, I have my candle through for my scents. And I also have a weighted blanket, which I keep in the living room, but sometimes transfer to the bedroom every so often, mainly in the winter, because like you get roasting in that thing. But a hack is, if you don't have one of those already, they are fantastic. Mine is fleecy and fluffy because I like fluffy textures, but you get all sorts of different textures and also all different sorts of weights depending on your sensory needs. Took less than 2 minutes and my space already feels totally transformed. I mean, it probably doesn't look like a lot to you, but in terms of like how I feel about it when I sit down and look at the areas around me, such a difference. So my original plan was that I was going to order food, and then while I was waiting for it to be cooked and delivered, I was going to do a really gentle yoga session, or just like a really gentle stretch if I wasn't in the mood for that. Something movement based, and that was going to be my next tip, and that is to incorporate movement into your relaxation and self-care time, whether that's going out for a walk, a gentle walk, doing a stretch or some yoga, or whether that looks different for you entirely, then definitely do that, because movement is good for us. Unwinding doesn't need to be stillness. It's okay to move. Don't be afraid to be playing with sensory toys or like wiggling your feet whilst you're engaging in relaxation activities. It's who we are, it's what we do, it's what our ADHD brain needs, so it is part of self-care to be squashing and playing and spinning various types of sensory tools and fidget toys. No shame in it. Tonight I'm just not feeling it. However, since I'm not following through on something, I've decided my next tip is it's okay not to stick to the plan. I'm just listening to my body and my brain and their needs, and I've decided that that's not suitable for me. Like, I've not failed. I don't need to force myself to do it. This goes for the smaller stuff too, because often when we are doing something, we might actually get bored with it. So I might say to myself, I'm going to watch a whole film, but maybe like halfway through the film, I'm kind of over it because it's predictable, or you know, I'm just not enjoying it. Fine, switch tasks, like put the film off, read your book, just like do what you want to do, just follow your impulses still. It's okay to do that. Often for our brains to feel refreshed, we need to switch tasks, not necessarily switch off. Do less, not nothing. It's so individual, but just don't go doing your work like your day job. This is my final big tip of the video, and then I'm also going to give you one more bonus hack after that before I say my goodbyes. When you're trying to relax, it's likely that you're going to come across some intrusive thoughts. They might be negative in that they might be self-criticisms or just really painful rejection sensitivity thoughts or other things, or overthinking social situations or other negative things. Thoughts might be really positive. They might be creative ideas that have popped into your head. They could also be really neutral in that something might pop into your head and you're like, oh yeah, I meant to do that, but it's not urgent. But obviously you're trying to relax and you don't want to start implementing these things, and you particularly don't want negative intrusive thoughts getting in the way of you trying to relax, because it'll be impossible if that's what happens. So always have something to write down thoughts that pop into your head, and then you can go to them whenever it's suitable. That way you've got them out of your brain and onto the paper. You won't forget them, and if it's a negative intrusive one, maybe have a separate page for that, and it can be almost like journaling those thoughts, because that can be helpful for some people too. Quite a useful psychological tool. Okay, so the bonus hack that I'm going to end on, I'm actually really excited about, because I take vitamins every single day now, and that's something I've struggled with for years. And the reason is because I combined it with things that I crave, but not in the way it sounds, not like I take a pill when I eat some chocolate. Like, it's not like that at all. Essentially, I crave sugary drinks every day, and I also crave little like sugary sweeties. So what I've done is I've started getting those little vitamins in tablet forms that when you drop them in the water, they fizz up, essentially give you a flavoured, watery, juicy drink. So what I do is I keep them in all different flavors so that I can mix up my flavors and I don't get bored. And then if there's a day that I don't want one of those, but I do want something to nibble on, I have the gummy versions of vitamins as well, and I have lots of different vitamins and minerals with lots of different options depending on what I'm in the mood for. Obviously, I'm going to say a disclaimer: use your common sense, don't overdo it with vitamins. You have to be careful because some vitamins are fat soluble, which essentially means the excess, if you have too much of them, it doesn't just come out in your pee, like your body actually stores it, and it can do some damage. So just keep track of how many vitamins you're having. If they're super yummy, just be careful and don't have too many of them. I'm gonna have one right now. This is probably quite a good place to end the video, so I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful in one way or another, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!